What's up, everyone? I'm JayDreamerZ, and welcome to Truth in Movies. Tonight, we're going to decode the Goonies. Now, if you're a long-time viewer, I have decoded this movie before, but there were so many technical difficulties. This was years ago, and I never got around to fixing it and doing it again. So tonight we're going to revisit the Goonies, and that's great because I actually have a lot of new insights into the movie. So I want to say thank you for showing up today. I hope you guys enjoy these movie decodes that I do. I also want to give a quick little update as to my meetups. I'm doing some meetups here coming up pretty soon. So I'm going to share some information with you guys. If you go to my main channel, looks just like this. So you just scroll down a little bit and you click on store. There should be something there that says store. There it is. And you just go down a little bit. It'll give you all the information about my upcoming meetups. This will be book signings. I'll be giving a spectacular presentation all about the plasma apocalypse, meeting people, shaking hands, getting to know you guys personally. And there's 3 different places right now. One in California, one in Arizona, and the next one coming up is going to be in Denver. And then I also have some special trips that I'll be taking as a part of my Chasing the Apocalypse show. So I'll be going to the Grand Canyon. You can join me there. There's limited tickets, just so you know. The center of the world. If you want to say you went to the center of the world with JayDreamerZ, now's the time. A couple of people already signed up. I'm excited to meet you guys. And let's see. So I've got Grand Canyon. Oh, you could do the Grand Canyon or the center of the world, or you can do both for a discount as well. So check those out. And also I want to say thanks to everybody who's been supporting my trading cards. So I have this sweet idea of creating my own trading cards called Spoof Seekers. And those are going to be parody spoof versions of popular truth seekers on different social media, including YouTube. I probably got, I don't know, 25 cards done so far. I'm looking at doing about 60. There's going to be legendary truth seekers, mythic ones, common ones. I will be one of the cards myself, so I'll have a parody version of myself. I just did 3. Man, I just did 3. I can't wait for you guys to see. So if you want to support this or check it out, go ahead and go to GoFundMe.com/spoof-seekers. That should take you right there, I believe. Or you could probably search JayDreamerZ and that should come up too. I'm pretty close to halfway to the goal so that I can actually get the cards purchased en masse and put them in packs. They're going to have foil packs and everything, just like a professional set of trading cards. I can't wait. I'm really excited about that. All right, let me take this down and we're going to start into this movie, The Goonies, classic. Today we're going to talk about piracy, the relationship between pirates and the plasma apocalypse. And oh, and I forgot, I do have the dates right here for my meetups. Denver, real quick, will be the 18th of this month, 4 to 6. The location will be sent to you after you purchase the tickets. Flagstaff on the 7th of August, 4 to 6. And San Diego, specifically in Carlsbad, California, sort of north of San Diego. And that'll be August 10th. So I'll see you guys there. All right, cool. So let's jump right into the Goonies and check it out. This is crazy how this movie starts off. So we start off seeing the skull and crossbones. Now we're going to talk a little bit about what the skull and the crossbones means. There's you guys hear me okay? Oh, don't tell me you can't hear me. Hold up. Let me go to let me just make sure. Can you guys hear me? I don't see my audio. Hold on, let me just double check. I just want to make sure. Audio check, oh, there it is. Oh, you can hear me. Okay, good. All right, sweet. The skull and crossbones, everything about pirates, which is what this movie kind of revolves around. And I'm going to explain to you why there is this connection to children and such an adult-themed topic like pirates and piracy. We're going to make this connection between the Goonies and the pirates themselves. All right, so we dive into the eyeball of the skull. So we've got the one-eye symbolism. Obviously, there's a pirate, a dead pirate called One-Eyed Willie in the movie. we'll explain the one eye symbolism to you as well. So if you've never heard of, or you don't know why the Illuminati uses the one eye and all the celebrities do that, you will by the time you're done watching this particular Decode. The Goonies. The Goonies. So we open up, we start things off in jail. And it's almost like you're in jail, the way that they make the perspective, like you're locked up. And you are. All of you are locked up. All of you are behind bars. All of you are inmates right now, slaves to a system, unaware, thinking that you're free, but you're not. You're stuck in loops and circles and patterns, and you're real easy to figure out. You're real easy to watch over. So we're going to break free, just like the Fratellis. They open up the guard door, the prison door, and they say, come on out. Everyone come on out. It's lunchtime or whatever. So he goes all the way to the back, and lo and behold, there is an inmate back there who's hanging from the top of his cell. Looks like he hanged himself pretty good. He's got a little note on him. This is symbolic of something that we have seen. I believe that this is a type of predictive programming for something very popular that we have seen as a recent news story in the last couple of years. So we also had somebody who allegedly had hung themselves, just like this guy. Now, if you take a close look, you might even see quite the resemblance as well. But apparently we had somebody who had hung themselves in a jail, somebody that was a high-profile case. This cop in the movie is like, what's going on here? He's got a note. He checks out the note. It says, to whom it may concern. It's like a little departure note, we'll call it. Well, the same guy in real life, the counterpart, the real-life counterpart, also had a type of departure note that was allegedly found. However, the movie reveals the plot to real life. The departure note says, you schmuck, do you really think I'd be stupid enough to kill myself? And then he smiles at him because he's not dead. And so he jumps off of the thing, he knocks out the guard, and take a look at what he's wearing. Take a close look. That's this sort of real dark blue vest that he's wearing. Very similar to this guy's real dark blue vest, which is very interesting. This is known as a turtle suit. When you go to jail, if you're suicidal, if they think that you might be a harm to yourself, then they put you in one of these so that you can't tear it up. It's made of a fabric that you can't tear so that people can do things like make nooses and stuff like that. So this guy walks right past the cop that he knocked out. The cop is literally asleep or sleeping on the job. Now, in real life, we had two guards who were assigned to that other guy to watch his high security cell. They fell asleep for 3 hours, allegedly, and later falsified records of what had happened. Now, we've got a newspaper article here that says prison guards discussed covering up this guy's death in custody. Fellow inmates told the FBI. So the inmates, they hear guards talking all the time. You know what I mean? Like the guards aren't too smart. They're not too intelligent. And they are a little louder than they should be probably. Inmates pick up on it. So they said, hey, we know what's coming. And then, of course, his brother's getting ready, dousing the place in gasoline. There's going to be a fire so they can destroy the building and get away and keep everyone trapped behind the wall of flames, the wall of fire. Now, when he comes out, this is the character that represents the guy who has been on the news, right? Let's take a look at what he's wearing, what he's dressed as. Remember, these are props. They didn't have to have him wearing all these layers of clothing. Not at all. They could have had him just leave in his prison outfit or whatever. But they have him wearing this sort of lumberjack plaid-looking outer jacket deal. And this guy also was known for wearing plaid. As a matter of fact, there's an ornament that's sort of become like a meme ornament, a Christmas ornament, that features the color behind him. He's not even wearing it, but it's like people subconsciously wanted to associate him with this particular color. And his girlfriend, or I'll call her his girlfriend, mistress, also was known for having often wore plaid. Or what's another word for plaid? You know what I'm saying? Plaid, right? Anyways, so he puts it on. Now let's see what else he's wearing. Let's check it out. He's got this pink shirt on underneath this blazer, this sort of sports jacket. Well, I'll come back to that. I'll come back to the pink shirt. I don't even know if I took a picture of pink shirt stuff, but the other guy wore pink shirts, blazers and stuff too. Now, the cops are starting to chase the Fratellis. That's the name of this bad guy family. So it's a couple of brothers and their mom. So they're blood related. So the criminals in the movie are shown to you as being blood related. It's a family thing. The criminals in the movie that represent the criminals in real life, not just one specific one, but many of them, are represented by a family or a bloodline. And as the cops are chasing them throughout the city, we start seeing glimpses of the Goonies, these children, these kids. This girl is in high school, it looks like, and she's a cheerleader. She says, okay, you guys, let's try the victory pyramid. And as the cops are going past, you can see she raises her hands up in what I like to call the Atlas pose, right? It's the stick figure of geoplasmas or earth energy that rises up and splits off, creating the bird of creation or a cruciform or a hammer that people see in the sky in ancient times. So she raises her hands doing the victory pyramid celebration. And the people that she's talking to are actually like trying to jump on top of each other in the shape of a pyramid. So she puts her arms up doing that pose. Then we got Corey Feldman, a young Corey Feldman. The police are driving right past his house, and he's watching a police chase on TV. His dad tells him to turn it off, and he still hears gunshots and stuff, and he's like, what the heck's going on, right? Well, this is really interesting. Remember, we're dealing with criminals so far who are going to end up becoming kidnappers and people who are taking advantage of children, and it gets even deeper than that. But these are the children that we're seeing. We're seeing an association with the esoteric in the pyramid symbolism and the Atlas pose. And then this kid goes over to help his dad, and then they spray all this water up into his face, just dousing him in liquid. Well, that's interesting too, because Corey Feldman, the same kid, now grown up, has come out and said that there is a huge sex abuse scandal all throughout Hollywood. And he's been on many different shows trying to expose this, Hollywood sex rings and sex scandals and mistreatment of the actors and actresses, especially those of younger ages. So I find that to be a very interesting link that we have here. Now, the cops keep going. They go past another one of the Goonies characters, the younger kids. This one looks like she's drowning in a pool of water. Almost like, I don't know, like why would you do that yourself? But it's almost symbolically like someone would be holding her under the water. This is really weird, especially when you see what she comes up with. When she comes up out of this water, and she looks like she's not alive. I don't know, it's just weird. But then she comes up, and then she pulls up and she has a crab. Almost like the movie's trying to say she was looking down under the water for a crab for some reason. I don't know why you would do that. But she comes up like gasping for air, like she was down there for a really long time. She has the crab, or she's the girl with crabs, you could say in another way. And then she like tosses it like she doesn't even care about it. Like she's just happy to come up out of the water, which is why I'm saying that's really weird that they had her like face down in that water for so long. And then she comes up gasping. Then we have Data, the little inventor of the group. First thing they do is they zoom in onto his belt area, we'll say. And they're trying to show you that he's got this awesome little invention of this little dart gun with a rope attached to it. It opens up, and then it's pulling him by that same area towards the trash. And he's like headed towards his doom or whatever, his own little catastrophe. He falls into the trash can. So he's been thrown into the trash symbolically as the police pass by him, as they're chasing the Fratellis, the criminal family, right? Next up, right in line of the same sequence, we have Chunk. Chunk is standing at this video game holding a slice of pizza, or what appears to be a slice of pizza, and some sort of a drink. But there's a video game right in front of him. Let's see what it says. you have one life left. That's an interesting thing. Do you think that that's just random? That just happens to be what was on the screen at the time that they filmed this? Or was it purposeful? So Chunk is excited to see the police chase. He walks up to them and see the association they're making with the police and the family, the evil family, the bloodline. So he puts his hand up on the glass, both hands up on the glass, and he's watching the police chase. He smears his left hand all the way around, and symbolically, it's almost like you're seeing a kid who's trying to get out, trapped, and there's blood all over this window here. And then to make matters even worse, all this pinkish white liquidy stuff just squirts out all over his face. So more liquid being squirted into the face of one of these children. We had one of them in the sink, one of them in the tub with the crabs. Now we have another one, and he's kind of humiliated and he curses a little bit. I didn't see any of this when obviously, like the first million times I watched this movie, because it was my favorite movie growing up. But now I'm a little older and I'm seeing the predictive programming and the things that the movie's sharing with us, and it's insane. Now that pink liquid, I'll share with you what I believe it represents. Okay, they could represent a few different things, but this is clearly red, like it's blood. The other one is clearly pink. They could have made that any color they wanted to. They chose pink. Could have been a chocolate shake. It could have been vanilla or whatever. They chose pink purposefully. Well, the fictional drug, the alleged fictional drug known affectionately as adrenochrome, is said to look sort of pink. It's a reddish colored liquid. And this is a clip, this is a still shot from Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, where one of the main characters, who's based off of a real life person, takes some adrenochrome, and they show you all of what those drugs do to people. But it's very interesting how it pops up in different places, especially when it comes to that same guy at the beginning of the movie who is in the jail cell, who everyone thought was dead, but really wasn't. It pops up again and again, even in that person's emails, where they constantly use things like pizza and grapes and things like that. Grape sounds familiar. It sounds close to like a couple of other words I could think of. So there's this pizza connection. Very interesting, very strange, but I think it's actually deeper than what most people have made it out to be. And I'll explain that a little while later when we get to the Fratelli's hideout. Now the Fratellis are taken off. The family takes off. They go to the beach. Okay? They head for the beach. Now this island in the background back here, this is going to actually represent Mount Meru. This is going to represent the island at the center of the world, Hyperborea, that same island paradise that I'm always talking about here on my channel, over on Patreon and other places, my website. So they head towards this race at Mount Meru. It's literally a race to Mount Meru. What this represents, and let me finish my thought real quick. They're in this, what they used to call ORV. It's an SUV, we would call that today, but they used to call it ORV, okay? And they get into this race where everyone has an ORV. They all look similar. They all look the same. And they get into this race at the place that represents Mount Meru in the movie, because that's actually, that island right there is where One-Eyed Willie lives, down underneath that island. And they all take off. So they're in this race. They're blending in. This is why they jumped into that race, so they can blend in with everyone else to escape detection, to escape the police. So after being caught, after faking their death, or one of their family members' death, they reintroduce themselves into society, blending in. All the while, they're actually racing each other. And they come out on top. You can see this is their little car, their little Cherokee or whatever that is back there. And they basically go way ahead of everybody else. They're in first place. Now we get to, this kid's name is Mikey. We get to Mikey's room. He's at home. He's talking about how he doesn't want to lose his house because some rich guys are going to come and take his dad's house. But look at his wallpaper. And he's got like these coconut tree wallpaper with like a nice blue sky and puffy clouds, almost like it's an island, right? And then there's, strangely enough, a gas mask right over here. Why would this kid even have a gas mask on his wall? I have a gas mask on my wall. I've got one for me and my son. And I know why. It serves a purpose. But why would they have that in the movie? Is it just a random prop, I ask? Or is it all symbolic? Are all of these elements that are images that represent meaning, like hieroglyphics? Now, we get back to Mouth. This kid's name is Mouth in the movie. He goes, come on, guys, this is our last Goonie weekend. We should be cruising the coast, sniffing some lace, down in the brews. Now, he says he should be sniffing some lace. That's a fancy way of saying doing cocaine, like, which is insane to hear children talk like that. You know, when I was a kid, I had no idea what this even meant. I didn't even know what he was talking about. Some of you may have, but I didn't. But it's interesting, right? The same kid that grew up to say, hey, Hollywood has a problem, right? These are the lines that they gave him to say. And these kids all represent kids who are going to be chased by the kidnappers, by the family, sought after, and then try to escape as they race to Mount Meru. Now, I'm going to fill you in on some of the blanks. You're the children. I'm the children. We're all the children, okay? Because the people that run the world live for a very long time. That's the most valuable thing to them, is life and their own personal lifespan. They don't care about money. They don't care about jewelry. They don't care about gold. They don't care about slaves. They care about extending their own lives and enjoying those extended lives. That's the most number one valuable thing on their list. So in comparison to people who live for hundreds and hundreds of years, we, the rest of us, are children, and we're considered and seen as children. We should be down in the brews, but no! One older brother had to mess it up, flunking his driving test. So now we see the older brother, Brand. And Brand flunked his driving test. He's also a Goonie. He's probably the oldest of all of them. He flunked his driver's test, which means he could not fit in. He could not conform. And this was what makes him a Goonie. Even though he's sort of a rebel, he's sort of the Raphael of all of the Goonies, he still couldn't, he's not certified. He's not bona fide. He's not approved because he flunked his driver's test. So they're all a bunch of outcasts. Then we see Chunk trying to just get into the house to talk to his friends. He's like, I saw the most amazing thing. Mouth says, first you got to do the truffle shuffle. And he's like embarrassed. He goes, come on. He goes, do it. So embarrassed, he jumps up on this little tree trunk podium and he lifts up his shirt, exposing himself, and he starts shaking around his tubby little belly, and he's making these stupid noises, speaking gibberish. And Mouth's over there just getting a crack out of it the whole time. This would be known as a humiliation ritual. To humiliate yourself so that you can gain access into a desired place, a desired house, or a gathering place, or a group of people. And this is just what they know. They were just taught this. This is their culture. This is how they were raised. You know what I mean? They don't have to be a secret society. They are one, and so are you by default. It's an Illuminati world, and you're an unknowing member. Your ignorance is a free pass to being the lowest level of Illuminati member that there is, or Freemasonic member that there is. These kids are just doing what they were taught. They were taught to be Freemasons by default, not understanding the traditions, not understanding the purpose or the point or the reasons behind what they're doing. And that's what you do too. So it's wise for us to first understand this concept and then start looking for ways to reverse it. Run a self-diagnostic, right? Ask yourself what you believe in, what it means, and get to the roots of these things. Now, we see the kid's last name up here on the house. You see that? Mikey's last name is Walsh. His dad's name is Mr. Walsh. What does Walsh mean? Why did they pick that? That's a prop, remember. There is no Walsh house. That's a prop that they added for the movie. They wanted his name to be Walsh. It had to be Mikey Walsh. M-W. Okay? Let's check out what Walsh means. Walsh, the etymology, or the word origin, the roots of the word Walsh, comes from the word basically Welsh, a Welsh person. And it means outsider, Wales, Welsh, etc. It means outsider. That's so interesting because they're black sheep. Walsh means black sheep. Welsh means black sheep. And that's what the Goonies are. They are literally the outsiders. That's what they call themselves in the movie. They're black sheep. Now, in order to get in, they have this fancy little thing where they roll a bowling ball and it falls down and it blows up a balloon and pops the balloon, which scares the chicken, and the chicken lays some eggs. But I wanted to focus on this chicken. At the entrance to this house, which is the gathering place, the meeting place for these, what will be 7 individuals. Okay? It's a type. It's a symbolic type of Mount Meru. It's a symbolic type of that island at the center of the world that is flanked on 2 sides by 2 beams of light, an anode, a positive, and a cathode, a negative. And those can be vice versa every other cycle. But those outdoor markers, those pillars of Hercules, the way you would say that in the ancient world was chet or cha. If you just pronounce the letter, it's a K sound. It's a real harsh CH or like you're going to hock a lookie. Cha. And if you have 2 of them in a row, that represented, and it was your way in the ancient world of saying 2 outdoor boundaries. And that implied a lot of different things. But one of the things it implied was the pillars of Hercules, the markers where you can go between them and go beyond. And there will be more of our world beyond those pillars of Hercules. It would be pronounced keke, ha-ha, ha-ha, keke, kiki, cuckoo, kaka. All these different words. The vowels don't really matter that much. Okay? But kakaon means somebody from between those 2 pillars. Or chicken, chicken. That's why you often will have chickens in these movies. And they'll usually do a quick little close-up, give you a cameo of a chicken. The chicken symbolizes the people from that island at the center of the world. They're seen as cowards or cowardly sometimes, which is why we call people a chicken. And oftentimes the protagonists of many of these movies are actually called chicken because they're forced to flee. They're the ones who flee. They're the ones who run away. They run away from their homeland. And they have to because of a cataclysm that forces them out of the Garden of Eden. And they're seen as outcasts, literally, or outliers, or rebels, or chickens, or weirdos, or strange people, or odd fellows, etc. So that's the chicken symbolism. They show you the egg being laid by the chicken. There is a cosmic egg directly above that island in the sky. It's what I affectionately call the apex dome. It's a portion of the sky that droops down like a bowl, and it's seen as like this half of an egg just hanging down out of the sky. And occasionally that egg breaks open. The sky bursts forth and gives birth to a new age. All right, so Chunk, he gets inside. He's like, all right, let me in. Thank you so much. So he's suffered his little humiliation ritual. He's allowed entry into the White House. Okay, there's usually a White House or a dark house, a house of light or a house of darkness. And that represents the 2 different eras that we have. Okay, we've got an era of light and an era of darkness. When it's an era of darkness, it's usually called Rupus Nigra, the mountain that this house represents, the mountain at the center of the world, which means black mountain or black rock. When it's an age of light, the electricity that runs through that mountain applies a process known as electrolysis to the mountain itself, which actually gets rid of all of the rust that's built up on the mountain, that has turned that iron mountain, which it's not completely iron, but there's iron inside of it, that is rusted over time, And it just takes all of that blackness off of it and makes it nice and shiny and bright and almost white looking again. Now, he comes inside. He's all excited, telling him about the cop chase. He's like, there was 2 cop cars. It was the most amazing thing I ever saw. And they go, really? More amazing than the time Michael Jackson came over to your house to use the bathroom. That's an interesting character that they would have chosen, right? Michael Jackson, somebody who clearly knew some things about Freemasonic organizations, the Illuminati. I mean, half of his songs are about those subjects, if you are familiar with Michael Jackson's work. And then Michael Jackson himself was accused of, some strange things with the youngins a few different times. So it's weird that they would have him in particular. Yeah, it says, I bet it's even more amazing than the time that you ate your weight in Godfather's pizza. He ate his Godfather's pizza. Interesting that they would put that in there again, another pizza reference. You're going to see a lot of these all throughout this movie for no apparent reason whatsoever. He goes, okay, Michael Jackson didn't come over to my house, but his sister did. So, family members as well, just happening to be visiting this kid's house. He tumbles over and this statue of, it looks like David, falls over. He's excited. He didn't break the statue. He's kind of clumsy. And then the statue falls anyways. They pick it up and they're like, oh my God, there's a piece missing. And they start to freak out because it's the most important piece of the statue. The piece that his mom loves the most, right? So it's really weird. It's kind of strange. And I remember as a child feeling a little uncomfortable with this particular scene when they show these kids fiddling with this statue, you know what I mean, in particular areas or whatever. That never sat well with me. I never thought that was funny. I know there's a lot of people in our world that laugh at stuff like that. The same kind of people probably enjoy movies like what's that cartoon hot dog movie that Seth Rogen did? Stuff like that. You know what I'm talking about? I don't find stuff like that funny. I think it's base, but that's fine. Whatever. You guys can, if you think it's funny, that's fine. But my point is, I'm seeing the truth of it. It's weird, man. It's a little on the pervy side, don't you think? Now, we've got this Spanish-speaking lady who comes in as a housekeeper, and mouth is supposed to translate because she doesn't speak English, which is interesting. Which is a whole different topic, but it's interesting. So he's messing with her, basically. He's screwing with her. And she says, Clark, can you translate? Right? So he's translating to her all the instructions on how to keep the house clean. He says, if you go upstairs, you'll go 2 weeks without food and water. It's a house of torture, according to how he's screwing with her. The same kid that came out in the future and said people are being tortured literally and sexually, which is also mentioned here, by the Hollywood people. They put that into the movie and they're using it to threaten this housekeeper lady. So she says, okay, Rosie, now I want you to pay close attention to what happens here, because some of you might see it and some of you might not see it. It might have slipped past you. Watch the mother as he's talking to her. Look at her free hand. You see this hand right here? Look at it. Nice and clean. Nothing wrong with this hand. Now, let's progress through the scenes, shall we? The mom looks around. She picks a couple of things up. That's what looks like toothpaste or something. She just picks it up. She's putting things away, puts it back into the medicine cabinet back there. And then she turns around and suddenly she has white stuff, we'll say, all over her finger from top to bottom, and these other fingers over here as well. Why? She, as an actress, she would had to have squeezed that toothpaste really hard when she had her back to the camera, putting it away into the medicine cabinet. Because I looked at the toothpaste, I looked at it, there's nothing on it. There's nothing visible that you can see a whole bunch of toothpaste all over it or anything. She had to squeeze it to purposefully get that glob of white yucky stuff all over her hand. And then it's not even really pointed out in the movie. I mean, it's pointed out because she points with her finger, But it's real weird. And then he's like licking his lips. Just real strange things that are happening in this movie so far. Now, they're going down the stairs. There's some talking and stuff. She's like, thank you for helping me translate. But in the background, I noticed they've got this gigantic magnet. It's not a horseshoe. It's a magnet. It's a horseshoe magnet, which is the most powerful shaped magnet you can have, aside from one that's three-dimensional, which is a bowl shape. Okay? A horseshoe shape is just a bowl shape that's been sliced in half, basically. Three-dimensional version. But the horseshoe magnet. And then right next to that is, where is it? A book that says the sea. So you've got this magnet across from the sea. I thought that was an interesting connection, given that Mount Meru itself is known as a lodestone mountain or a magnetic mountain. Now, she's talking to the kids and she goes, what is that? And they're all paranoid. Because they think that she's talking about the broken penis on the statue. And they're like, oh shit, what? And they're all paranoid. And I laughed so hard when I was a kid. I never heard another kid curse at the movies. I think this was probably the first time in my life I ever heard another child say a curse word. It was the funniest thing ever. But now it's like they do it all the time. And she goes, that is a mess. I want that cleaned up, boys. Now, let me jump into my Dr. Phil here for a moment. What you're going to see here is symbolic. Let me explain this to you, okay? These right here, okay? These right here. Hold on, let me get a sip of my Gatorade. That's some good Gatorade. That's good stuff. Now, these right here are what you might call similar crumbs. This crumb is similar to this crumb over here. And you got some similar crumb symbolism that's happening right here. Now, if you have a whole bunch of these similar crumbs, then you got basically the building blocks that make up everything. Now, hopefully you guys enjoyed that little breakdown. But moving on. He says, you want a breathing problem? You got one. Mikey's older brother. He pulls him down and, he's giving him a noogies or whatever. But the breathing problem thing, why did they have Mikey have a breathing problem? He doesn't have to have asthma. That doesn't serve any purpose in the movie. At no point in time are they like, oh, you lost your inhaler or anything. It never really comes up. As a matter of fact, I think towards the end of the movie, he really kind of gives up on the inhaler, which is symbolic in and of itself, because once they get to Mount Meru, all the diseases, all of the ailments, all of the physical discrepancies will go away, right? Because they will reach the light of the world, which will get rid of all of their problems and diseases and stuff. But not being able to breathe is also a theme that comes up in plasma apocalypse symbolism, because when the atmosphere depressurizes, it will literally take your breath away. When the Lord returns, when the skies open up, when the day of judgment comes, your breath will be taken away in so many different ways. One, it'll be beautiful. It'll be a beautiful apocalypse. It'll be amazing. People are already oohing and awing over fireballs and stuff that are crashing down towards the earth and auroras that are stretching too far south. How much more do you think they're going to ooh and ah whenever the color out of space descends from a hole in the sky? They're going to ooh and ah themselves to death. Many of them. So they're not going to be able to breathe because of atmospheric depressurization, which is important to know of ahead of time so that you can counter that, so that you can survive and not pass out. And then they start asking, hey, what's all that stuff in the attic that your mom was talking about? She said, stay out of the attic. He's like, yeah, my dad's going to give all that stuff back to the museum. It belongs in a museum. It belongs in a museum, as Indiana Jones would say. Now, you would think Indiana Jones was a good guy, but sticking all of that important stuff into a museum, right? The museums are only putting certain things up in the forefront, and oftentimes they're fakeries, they're forgeries, they're replicas. I'd say probably, if I were to just throw a dart at it, I'd say 90% of them, maybe more, maybe all of them are just replicas. You're just giving important artifacts, which is information, which is power, to the people who are rich enough to even build a huge building called a museum for people to come around and look and go, oh, wow, look at that. That's cool. Selfie time, and not really do what you're supposed to do in a place of thinking, which is why it's called muse. And they don't think. They don't do that anywhere. They don't do that in any of the places where they visit. They don't do that at any of the monuments. They don't do that at any of the national parks. They just go, wow, look at that. Isn't that amazing? Ooh, ah. And they never get to the heart of it, the implications, the meaning behind it, the origins, what it means for their future. One day someone's going to ooh and ah over them as a petrified pillar of salt in the post-apocalyptic world. It belongs in a museum, he says. Mikey's screaming at him. He doesn't want him to mess up his dad's collection up there. So they go up to the attic. Now, the attic symbolically is where they're going to get these artifacts from antiquity, these forgotten relics. Well, the house is symbolic of our world. So if you go to the attic of our world, it is going to the top of our world, which equates to the North Pole. So they head north, symbolically. They go to the attic. They're like, wow, I didn't know my dad had all this stuff up here. So they're walking around in the attic. And Mikey goes, he doesn't want you up here. So his father, right, symbolic of a God-type figure, does not want you up here. Or the authority figure, I could say, does not want you up there. You children. Even Jesus called his disciples children. He was calling the people children, full-grown adults, referring to them as children, which is why I refer to you guys as children and myself. We are children compared to living for hundreds and hundreds of years. So the children, which are actually just normal adults symbolically in our real world, are told the authority figure doesn't want you up here in the North Pole, finding relics, finding proof, physical, tangible, actual proof that what you used to think was fantasy and fiction is reality. So, Chunk says, we only have Hanukkah decorations in our attic, so we find out a little bit about Chunk. He's Jewish. They didn't have to make him Jewish. Funny, he doesn't look Jewish. But I digress. Why? They didn't make the other kids all have religions and stuff. They made Chunk have a religion. That's interesting to me. I see something else though here in this image. In the background, well, one, there's a big fat plasma ball right here. They're actually going to turn that on in a moment and play with it. And it's huge, gigantic plasma up in the attic. But over here on the other side, we have the image of what equates to a gypsy woman, a fortune teller, the gypsies, the wanderers, the nomads. These are the people who were kicked out of the Garden of Eden. They dressed exactly how you would expect people from ancient biblical times to dress. They were wanderers. They were tent makers. They took their houses with them wherever they went. These were the nomads and the gypsies and all the different names for the nomadic tribes like barbarians and Tartarians and things of that nature. And they have one right here. Remember, that's a prop. There is no real attic with actual museum stuff. They put all of this into the movie, hand chosen. And the museum, as I'm going to show you in the movie, the whole theme of the museum was supposed to be pirates. What does this gypsy lady have to do with piracy? Right? It's all telling a story. What does plasma, a big fat ball of plasma, have to do with piracy? His dad's supposed to be holding on to all the extra pirate stuff for the museum, allegedly. Then they hear thunder crashing because there's lightning, which is a form of plasma. They all look basically to this plasma ball. Do you see that? They all look right up where the light is reflecting right off of this plasma dome. This guy takes a big hit of his inhaler. The brother opens up a book and starts reading, and you can see more plasma right here crawling up this glass container like a little tree of life. You see that? And that's why it's called the Tree of Life, because that's exactly what it looks like. So he opens up his book and he's learning about pirates. He learns about, specifically, the skull and the crossbones. Now, why do they use the skull and the crossbones? Some people would call it the Jolly Roger. But what is the meaning behind the skull and the crossbones? Was it just random? Were pirates just like, yeah, we like black. Let's have a black flag for no reason. Black's the evilest color there is. Let's have a dead skull. Okay. And some bones. What shape should we put the bones in, Captain? Put them in X shape because I don't know, it's decorative. It's just decorative. Let me explain to you the origin for the skull and the crossbones. This right here is the origin for the skull and the crossbones. This is the place where you can find the One Piece, if you're a manga fan, or an anime fan, at least. This is the place where you can find the cross in the land itself. So there are the crossbones. The skull is a place known as Golgotha. Now, right here, it tells you the skull is this mountain in the middle. I'll tell you. I'll get to that in just a minute. I'm going to build a bridge, okay? So here's the cross shape, the X shape. And here in the middle is where you would normally find the skull. So usually the skull, sometimes they put the skull on top and the X bones underneath it, but traditionally the X bones would be behind the skull, and the skull is right there in the middle. But this is known as the mountain of the skull, or the place of the skull. And biblically speaking, it's known as Golgotha. I'll get into that in just a moment. This place is known to be 33 miles around. Now, the light of the world, literally the biggest light source or geoplasma that erupts from the Earth when the inner Earth depressurizes and those gases are released, they ionize and they shoot up into huge pillars and beams of light into the sky. The largest opening will have the largest and tallest beam of light shooting up, and everyone around the world, depending on the shape of the world, this is important, will be able to see that light all at one time when it returns. And it dies, it retracts, and it is born exactly at 33, which is the 33 miles around of that central mountain that it comes up out of. Okay? So it dies at 33. It is born at 33 as far as how big the mountain actually is. Now, Golgotha in biblical terminology is the place where the light of the world personified as Jesus Christ, where he was crucified. And it's called the place of the skull. I don't really 100% understand why people think Golgotha means skull. When you break the word down, the etymology of it doesn't mean skull. Let's take a look at it. This is the Hebrew. This is the root, Golgal or Gilgal, and then ta, which is just the letter T, which is a suffix which implies a plurality or many. I'm going to explain this. In order to understand Golgotha, which means place of the skull, you have to look at this word, Gilgal. Gal. You can see right there. It's the same letter. It looks like a high-heeled shoe and a staff. A high-heeled shoe and a staff, which is exactly what those are. This is one word, gal, and it's the same word repeated twice. Well, okay, that's interesting. It means, in modern Hebrew, wheel. It means a wheel. Gilgal means wheel. Well, that is interesting to me because that island in the middle of the world is a wheel shape. Looks just like a wheel, actually. Circular, got a hubcap right in the middle, got spokes coming out of the sides of it. And people will see this wheel reflected in that apex dome in the heavens if it's a shiny object or if it's a reflective surface. Like ice. You shine a huge geoplasma, the light of the world, up at it, and it will reflect that land right there below, giving you this shape up there in the heavens as well. A wheel that people saw in the heavens. A wheel in the sky. Now, that word also implies to heap up in Hebrew. Gal means to heap up, a heap. Or something that builds up in a circular fashion. So a heap that's circular, or a circle of heaping stones, or something like water, which is why it also can mean wave. Something that heaps up, but then curls around in on itself in a circular fashion. If you look at the root word for gal, remember we're breaking down Golgotha. Golgotha. Okay? Gal means a heap or a pile. These are the two letters right there. Okay? Golgotha, here it is in Hebrew. Gimel Lamed, Gimel Lamed. This letter was added, okay? The original word only had this letter, which is the letter T, which is a suffix, which is typically a feminine suffix, okay? Galgaot, Golgotha, Golgotha. It's a cave. It's a mountain with a hole in it at the center of the world, where there is one huge light source that shoots up from the middle, and it is flanked by two lesser light sources, one positive, one negative. These are your stories. It's also Skull Mountain, you could call it, from He-Man. You can just imagine He-Man standing right there with his sword, which is basically Excalibur, which is basically the blue beam, and all this electricity for some reason flying out of nowhere, and he's just transforms into this like superhero with crazy strength, right? The sky turns red, all this stuff, right? But look at it. Let's actually take a close look at Castle Grayskull, okay? That's what it's called. Skull Mountain, Castle Grayskull, same thing. Golgotha. Let's take a close look. This is now Golgotha is that same mountain is the traditions say that Adam, the first man, was buried there. So is it also interesting that He-Man's real name is Adam? And they put Adam right in front of this huge skull that actually represents the skull of Adam himself? But look at it. Real quick, I want to make you a quick comparison. It's a cave. It's got stairs that go up into there, and then it's got like these rivets that go down into the cave. I've seen this before. It's an alchemical drawing that's been cartoonified. Check this out. Let me blow your mind real quick. This is a book, or this is a picture from a book called The Amphitheater. Hold on, let me just show you guys. The Amphitheatrum Sapiente Aeternae Solius Vere, which translates from Latin into Amphitheater of the Only True Eternal Wisdom. And this is what they show you. It's literally showing, I mean, they're playing with perspective here. Let me go back a step because I made it a little smaller, okay? They're showing you a cartoonified drawing, an alchemical drawing, that represents Mount Meru at the center of the world. This is the top of Mount Meru. They need to show you the landscape so you understand like what you're looking at, because they can't just show you straight down into the mountain. That would be weird and hard to draw. So they show you the landscape, and then they take the cave or the top of the mountain and they put it sideways so you can see into it. This is you standing at the lip, at the top of Mount Meru, and then going down inside. And exactly like Castle Grayskull, you have the same drawbridge, or jaw bridge is how it's called in He-Man. The same steps that go all the way in there, and if you go all the way back, there's even some kind of spirit form, some kind of bird energy, which in the He-Man cartoons would be the sorceress. She turns into this hawk. You see that? Like a phoenix rising right there. That's the plasma that comes up out of the middle of the world. So take a good close look, because I thought that was a very interesting comparison to see Castle Grayskull and to compare it to, I mean, it's a striking resemblance at the very least, I would say. Anyways, let's move on. Now, the older brother's going through the pirate book, and he's looking at all the different pirate symbolism and stuff. And this takes us to the origin of pirates. My second book, I have a couple of chapters that go into great detail about not just the origin of pirates, but particular famous and renowned pirates and the pirate bays, the pirate harbors, the pirate islands. What's up, Eric Woodson in the chat? Good to see you. Anyways, I go into great detail about the origin of pirates and how they didn't used to be landlubbers that just decided, oh, I'll live on a boat, and then piracy sort of developed over that. These were the Tartarians. These were the barbarians. These were the seafaring Phoenicians, people who were from the place where the phoenix lives, which I just showed you is inside of that mountain. They were forced off of their island paradise. They spoke a totally different language, which is probably closer to Proto-Indo-European or Phoenician or something along the oldest languages that exist. The first languages on Earth. So they sounded weird to us. They were babblers. They were strange. A lot of the symbolism contributed to the cartoonifying of those people because they have been utterly cartoonified. Okay? So it's a lot of real symbolism. So he's talking about the pirates and he says, these are the rejects. And he goes, kind of like us, Mikey, the Goonies. Now, he just said something meta. He just said something profound. He's wearing the costume of the pirates. They're talking about the pirates, saying they're the Goonies. They're the rejects, kind of like us, Mikey. The Goonies. The Goonies. The Goonies. The Goonies a long time ago. The Goonies today, that will go back to that island, that will go back to One-Eyed Willie and become once again, right back into that cycle, the pirates of a future time. Again. You will find out what this means here in a minute. It's going to get deep. Now, you can see they turned on the plasma ball up there. It's just plasma streaking everywhere, blue plasma. They got this little burning bush plasma over here off to the side. Right. That's also the genie in the bottle, by the way. Okay, so this is like smokeless fire in the bottle. The jinn, the ancient jinn. Spirit people, spirit beings, etc. All right, he goes, wow, laser beams! And he actually starts playing with the giant plasma ball. They didn't have to put any of that into the movie. They could have just kept it at pirate stuff. And he goes, oh, what's this? Takes out a map. Now, these truth seekers, which is what these children represent, they represent you guys out there who are truth seekers, little children that were raised by the Illuminati, unknowingly, ignorantly. You're trying to break free of it. You're trying to come out of it. You're trying to figure out your purpose. You're trying to save your house. You're trying not to be a slave and work for the system any longer. He takes out a map, finds a map. The glass shatters on the frame, which represents the sky opening up. The glass shattering, the dome itself, the firmament itself opening up, but also kind of like your own dome opening up, right? Your mind opening up as you get new knowledge and new information in the form of this map right here. He reads the translation, ye intruders beware, crushing death and grief, soaked with blood of the trespassing thief. It's a warning. This map has a warning on it to those who would try to come to that island for the sake and for the sole purpose of getting wealthy. And there have been many attempts to go to that land at the North Pole only because people heard it's Treasure Island. It is the Cave of Treasures. It's full of treasures. There's all kinds of gold and jewelries and precious gems and stuff up there. Why? Because of the electricity. Because of the plasmas that exist. Have you ever been to a petrified forest? You ever see a petrified tree? Electricity did that, not a tree soaking in mud in a very long time. That's what you will be taught. I have a different opinion, okay? Which is electrical change that changes the bonds, that adds protons to some elements and takes protons away from other elements, thus changing them and acting as a sort of philosopher's stone, right? But it changes those biological organisms, life forms, trees, into precious gems. If you ever see the inside of one, I'm telling you, it looks just like it's just made out of precious gems. It's insane. So the map is a warning. It says, don't come here if that's your goal. Don't seek the treasure if your goal is the riches and not the lifespan, not the goodness, not the purity, not the wholesome, not the healing, because you'll be rejected. So they all get together, and the older brother's, he's a non-believer. He says, you guys, this map is old news. Everybody and their grandfather went looking for that. And everybody and your grandfather did. In just recent times, go looking for the Fountain of Youth. Time and time and time again. As a matter of fact, I believe, and I found mounds of evidence for that being the entire incentive behind the whole age of exploration during the Middle Ages, and why the United States of America was even discovered and stuff. They were looking for home. They were looking for the Fountain of Youth. They were looking for this beam of energy, this place. And he goes, One-Eyed Willie. That's where you will find One-Eyed Willie. You have that beam of light that shoots up and branches out, giving you that Atlas pose that I talked about, the squatter man pose, a stick figure with its arms lifting up towards the heavens with no head. But right above it is that egg shape. And depending on your perspective on Earth and how close you are to it, you'll see a decapitated head above that little stick figure with the arms up, almost like it's holding its own head up in the sky. Or it's a headless person that's holding up a big eyeball or a mountain, or however it will be seen, however it will be interpreted. Yeah, One-Eye Willie, he was the most famous pirate of his time. Now, he's not talking about any one person. He's talking about a god, okay? Or what people in the ancient world, some people, would have seen as a god. A mysterious phenomenon of great power. This eyeball in the sky that has these snakes of plasma coming off of it and changing, giving life or taking it away down here on the surface. One form of an ancient phenomenon. He says, One-Eye Willie stole a treasure once. He's the one eye of the well beneath. That's why he's called One-Eyed Willie. That's where the word will comes from, okay? It's from that well at the middle of the world. That opening in the center of the earth, in the heart of the earth, that's where spirit comes from. That's where energy comes from. That's where will comes from. When you will something, it is your spirit doing it. I'm not just, my hand's not moving just because my brain's firing off electrons or whatever. My will decides, I'm willing myself to move. It is the spirit that moves the physical things. It imbues it with energy. Hey, Heather, thank you. Thank you so much, Heather. All right, so let's continue on. So, One-Eyed Willie stole a treasure once. Okay, now this is the ancient story of one cycle of the apocalypse where people saw that one eye up in the sky, and the beam was already there. And when they saw that one eye open up, and that eye opened up and the light beyond the dome comes in, that beam retracted. And then that beam goes back up. So it's seen as like killing that beam of light underneath it or helping it out every other cycle. He says it was full of rubies and emeralds and diamonds until the British king. See, he found out about it. The British people, the Bretons, Berit, as in, there's a Hebrew word called Berit or Brit, and it means covenant. It means promise. The Breton means the people of the promise. The Beriton. Interesting. So these people who come from the North Pole have lived for a very long time, and they used their intellect and superior trading skills and stuff to start accumulating massive amounts of land and positions of power all throughout the rest of the world over time. They took over your world. Your world has been taken over by them, at least by some of them, because there's different tribes that come from that place. The British king found out about this treasure at the North Pole. This is combining real life with the fantasy element in the movie. And he set up this whole armada, the age of exploration, to go after him. And the armada, they went after Willie, and there was this whole big war. There's always a big war between at the end of each apocalyptic cycle. It is because the energy, the pressure builds up on the earth, all of the creatures start panicking and becoming anxious and freaking out and becoming aggressive and violent and quick to react and stuff. There's not a lot of energy. The world just goes to hell. Okay? It just becomes a chaotic place. There will always be a war before the apocalypse, a great war, a huge war, a world war. And I mean a real world war, not like this country versus this one and this one got involved too. I mean like everybody, everywhere, becoming violent and crazed. So there was a whole big war between the Armada and Willie's ship, the Inferno. So it's between the Armada, which represents the southern armies, and the central place where Willie lives, which is that central island, also known biblically as the Camp of the Saints, which will be surrounded by the Southlanders in a great battle, as one day that central island rises up from the sea. And we're going into times whenever the gases inside of the earth are being released in mass, which is causing volcanoes to erupt and lava to come out and islands to lift up and land to lift up in different places. I've seen videos where people are like, it looks like the land is breathing. Yeah, the land is rising. There's land is rising in different places because those gases are being released through magnetic fluctuations deep inside of the earth. And it's releasing massive amounts of gas. So this island that once was there will return. When it does, the people of the world will fight against the inhabitants of those islands, which is Gog and Magog. They are the underworld people, who you are being conditioned right now to think and see as evil and as the bad guys. You're being conditioned right now to fight the aliens, that the aliens are bad and they're all evil. He says, then One-Eyed Willie fled. He took off. He didn't want to stay too long. And then he got into this cave. And then the British, they came in, but he got caved in, and he's been there ever since. One-Eyed Willie got trapped in this cave. The one eye in the sky has a hole in it. That light on the other side will be sealed off because the firmament, after it cracks open, will heal itself. All it needs is for those gases to refreeze back into ice, and it can happen very quickly. As a side note, I will mention, my research indicates that there have been many different suns throughout antiquity. We have one right now that I know of called the sun, which is a point of focus that goes in a circle above our world. But going further back in time, there have been many different things that people called suns, light sources up in the sky that are not just stars or planets. Okay, there have been a couple of different moons in antiquity as well. As a matter of fact, the legends indicate that the moon itself used to be a sun until its light started to dim, and then it became the lesser sun, or the moon. But there is a sun that rises and sets straight up and straight down in the very middle of Hyperborea. Okay, it is the sun of the world. It is a central plasma ball that is at the bottom of that blue beam of energy. And it will rise up, and it will go all the way up towards the apex dome, and it will come all the way back down, and it will go so far down that it goes into Mount Meru, where it lives. That is the cave where the sun lives. And according to many different ancient accounts, the sun does live in a cave. It comes from a cave. It is born in a cave, and it dies in a cave. It rises towards the east, which in the antiquity meant upwards towards the stars. And then it descends westerly or downward into the earth. All right, so then we see this little newspaper article. They hear about this guy named Chester Copperpot. Chester Copperpot was somebody who was chasing after the treasure, and One-Eyed Willie, he was this truth seeker from yesteryear. You know, some wild conspiracy theorist from a long time ago. The name, Chester Copperpot. Remember the chicken thing I taught you guys earlier? K. There's a reason for that. But also, let's take a look, right? It says reclusive scavenger claims I have the key to One-Eyed Willie. Chester Copperpot. C, C, A, B, C. 2 C's in a row are 2 3s. If you look at it numerology-ish, I don't know how to say that. Numerologically speaking, the letter C equates to the number 3. CC is the number 3. It is 33, symbolically. Also, you might notice a little symbolism in this particular picture. CC is 33. GG is also 33 because G in antiquity and C were the exact same letter, the third letter of the alphabet. They do this all the time. And if you pay attention, you'll start to notice it. And you'll understand why they do it. Now we've got the hidden hand here, the Illuminati, right? The old guys who are clearly rich, walking up with their umbrellas. I did a video called The Umbrella of the Occult. I talk all about this umbrella symbolism. It represents those people who had come from Mount Meru. Okay? They want to get back to it, but for selfish gain, for selfish reasons. These are the older people. These are your presidents and kings and queens and firstborns of firstborns, right? The kids, this is the new people. This is the new class. This is the new inheritance. You can't go to the Garden of Eden unless you enter as a little child, according to Jesus, if I may paraphrase, right? It is made for the little children. The little children, you and me, by the way, which is what we are to go there. Not these people who used to have all of that wealth, all of that lovely health and long lifespans and stuff. Then they took it for granted and they used it for evil. And they're not welcome back, from what I gather. So he says, "Hi, little guys. I'm Mr. Perkins, Troy's father. Is your mommy home?" So clearly they're not like toddlers. So they're looking at him like, what a patronizing piece of garbage, right? This is how the people of the world who are in charge of this world look at you. In case you have not noticed, you are treated as unintellectual, stupid, unable to take care of yourselves. As a matter of fact, from the moment that you're born, they set you up with a birth certificate, bonds, stocks, all this stuff in your name, and then don't even give it to you because you're too dumb to be able to handle those types of things. That's another story, though. He says, "Nah, she's out buying Pampers for all of us kids," right? Interesting. So it's funny because something that we have as the children of the earth that these people don't, something that we have going for us is that they underestimate many of us. They underestimate the anomalies amongst the children. They just lump us all together as cattle and lemmings, but they underestimate the anomalous amongst us. This guy says, "You seem to be pretty sure of yourself." He goes, "The foreclosure is a definite. We're going to take that house. We're going to take Mount Meru. We're going to get that island at the center of the world. We're going to buy Greenland. We're going to inch our way up towards the Arctic." In the real world. He says, "If I found One-Eyed Willie's rich stuff, I'd pay all my dad's bills. Then maybe he could get some sleep at night. Instead of sitting up trying to figure out a way for all of us to stay here." It's like I heard my very own son saying that. Man. Because like there's most nights, I might give myself a night off like once every 2 weeks or 3 weeks or something. But if I'm not, I'm up all night long till like 5 o'clock in the morning, working on all different projects that I have going, researching. Like this movie alone probably took 3 or 4 hours. And that's only because I've seen it so many times, you know? Imagine a brand new movie that I'm like sitting there decoding and stuff. Like I'm up all night long. Like I'm exhausted. You guys probably seen that I got dark circles under my eyes typically. I don't get sleep, you know? I don't care. Like, I don't really want to sleep, but it would be nice to get a little more sleep. But the day is coming whenever some of us, and some of you are like that, so that's why I'm sharing my story. I know that you can relate, okay? I was just on my lunch breaks channel earlier yesterday, I think, last night or this morning, and I watched his very first video where he was just in his car, and he was just like, man, I hate my job. I have like no energy. I don't want to go back to work. I don't know how much longer I can do this. And I'm like, damn, if I didn't say the same thing like 5-6 years ago. Like, I hate working. I hate being told what to do. I hate having to get up at the butt crack of dawn. I'm not even a morning person. I hate not making any money, etc. And I just took I basically was forced to like see if I could do YouTube for a living because I just got monetized. And I'm like, I might be able to make the ends meet, maybe. I don't know. Took a big risk. And I have been doing this full time for the past 5-6 years. I'm so glad that I did. It's still nerve-wracking. And this is not a cry for donations or anything, okay? I like to be honest with you guys and share with you what I'm going through. Right now, I'm broke, completely broke. Like, not a dollar to my name broke. I couldn't even rent. Actually, no, I was able to rent this movie. This is pretty much the last of my money that I spent was renting this movie. Scrounged up some change. I bought my son a gift that he really wanted. And then I got this movie rented. So this is what I'm going through, what this kid's dad is going through. My point is not to be selfish, not to put the spotlight on me, but this is what you're going through. Okay, most people that watch my channel, some of you guys are lucky and you're a little higher up on the food chain as far as, you know, the rest of us go. You're still slaves though. You know it and I know it. But we like to live vicariously through you sometimes. Most of us are poor. You know what I mean? So we're very thankful. I don't know. I'm kind of ranting now. I don't want to make it about me. Let's continue on. He's got a map. He opens up the map. He says, guys, what are we going to do about that country club? CC, again, country club, right? Notice this map, though. Isn't this kind of weird? You see how it's got like these two circles on either side? On top of it, I would also point out Chunk's face, by the way. But look at it. It's got a circle here, a circle here, and then it's got a little circle in the middle. It's kind of like those Mad Magazine fold-outs. I don't know if you guys ever looked at Mad Magazine, but at the end of the magazine, they always have this fold-out where you fold the paper together and it makes a brand new picture. That's exactly what this map is. John, hey, what's up, John? Thank you so much. So when you fold them together, that's what you get. You get one big circle and one little circle right there in the middle. Take a look at the map. Again, a big circle. And then this, you can see the line where you fold it right there, and it would fold all the way over to meet that other circle. Here it is again. There's the lines. You fold it in, and it makes this. It's the circle within the circle. But this is interesting too, because if you look close, this is not just some weird random movie design they just picked out of nowhere. This is a specific shield, a specific herald of a specific family and bloodline. Well, let's look it up. We've got these 3 lions and we've got these 3 fleur-de-lises, which basically is like flower of life. It comes from the family line known as the Tudors. Interesting. You see? Same exact thing. The Tudor bloodline. Let's look that up. I wonder if that's related to the Walshes, the Walsh family. Well, some notable Tudors have been Henry VIII, who is not holding a freaking drumstick of turkey as he should be, in my mind. Queen Mary, also known as Bloody Mary, was a famous Tudor. And of course, we have Elizabeth I, also known as Elizabeth the Childless. They say that the Tudor bloodline ended with her because she didn't have any kids. Even though that doesn't make a lot of sense, I'm sure there was lots of other Tudors that did have children, just weren't high up on the food chain. And I wonder if they left during the Age of Exploration to go, I don't know, establish a brand new country and look for the Garden of Eden. If you look up the name Tudor It says here, in reference to the English royal family that lived between 1400s and 1600s from Welsh. The surname Tudor. Notice the spelling. So it's Welsh. The Walshes. Welsh. Same thing. This is how it was spelled in ancient times. Tu and dur. D-W-R. Remember that. I'm going to tell you what it means. Tu is Dieu. Dieu means God. Dios means strong God or God of gods. Okay? Deus is how you would say that. Sometimes that D was pronounced as a T, and that is where you get the third day of the week named after Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, or Deus Day, or Dios Day, the day for God. The French word Dieu translates to God. So adieu in French means to go with God, essentially. The word Dieu translates to God or deity and descends to us from the Latin word Deus. It comes from the Proto-Indo-European word Deus. Now this is two words, Deu, which means God, and os, which also means God in Norse, but also can mean plural or strong, etc. Okay, so Tudor, Dieu-dor is the word we're looking up, which is the family lineage in that bloodline. Tudor, Dieu-dor, or okay. Let's look up the door portion and see what that means. Gee, I wonder what door means in Tudor. Well, it comes from the Proto-Indo-European word doer. You could pronounce that. It's literally pronounced door. Do or door, door. Means a door or a doorway. So Dieu door, tu door means the doorway of God or the God of doors. Some of you know who that's in reference to. Now, if you look at this word right here, I'm going to make an interesting connection. Doer is how you would say that. This W over time became a V as well, and sometimes an F. It's doer, and then if you write of, which is another V or an F at the end, it means of the doorway. People from the door of the earth. The earth has a door on it, okay? It's an entrance down into the earth. It actually has two doors because one is in the sky when it opens up. That's known as the East Gate, and only God can open the East Gate, according to tradition. But doer-u means of the doer or of the doors. You would say that doer-v or doer-fa over time. So it became doer-fa, the dwarven people, the small people, the little people that inhabit a portion of that particular place, actually. The dwarves, the Skrælingers, sometimes they were called. The little people, the people who come from the door of the earth, the entrance of the earth. There's a whole section on that map that says that there are a region where the little people live. Interesting, right? The dwarfs, the dwarven people. Now, they're all very strong, okay, these dwarfs. Super strength, at least, you know, in things like The Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit and stuff like that. The little stocky, super strong people. Well, guess what? That's you. That's you guys right now walking around in this atmosphere that's super pressurized. You have all of the weight of 5 quintillion pounds of atmosphere bearing down on you every single day. You're naturally exercising, and you will be much stronger than everyone who is going to be born into that world to come. You're also not going to grow very much if you've already passed the age of puberty. But the people born into that world will get bigger and bigger and bigger, but they'll have less and less dense bones and muscular structure, where you little people have already kept all of that, and you're going to enter into that time, the little people of the future world, superheroes, little tiny superheroes with superpowers and stuff, super strength. If you take the D off of the word dwarf, it makes Worf. That's this guy. I had to throw him in there. He's basically a tall dwarf in Star Trek. He's a space dwarf, okay? That's why he's called Worf. Some of you don't know what I'm talking about. But yeah, he's basically, these are all dwarves, okay? Anyways. All right, so all the kids are riding their bikes. They're on their way to go try to find One-Eyed Willie's treasure. Amanda, thank you so much in the chat. I appreciate you. But look, they passed the museum, actually. You see, it's a sign for it right there. Let's check out what that sign says. The museum, the same museum that is supposed to have all the stuff in the dad's attic. It says Pirates of the Pacific. Astoria is the name of this city in Oregon. It's a real city. They could have chosen any city, but they chose this one purposefully because it has the name they needed. They could have filmed this anywhere, but Astoria, the star, the place of the star being that North Star, that hump in the sky that people can see whenever it's illuminated from the light from below. Astor, Esther, Ishtar, Easter, the eastern part of our world, the sky itself, the star in the middle of the world, which is where the pirates come from. Now, they bust out their map. They're trying to find One-Eyed Willie. They're trying to find the center of the earth. They're trying to return to paradise to get the rich stuff. Because not for them, for their parents. They care about their family. They want their family to stop having to be slaves all the time and just kick back and live for 1,000 years on vacation because God knows you need it. He goes, that's it. It's right over there. And they show you 3 rocks, 1, 2, 3, which represent paradise symbolically. Anode, cathode, and the biggest one of all right there in the middle, the Mount Meru symbolism. So he does his one eye check, right? Closing the one eye to make sure they all line up. And they do line up. And this is something that people would do in the ancient times. In antiquity, is they would poke holes into solid objects, line them up with other things to see if they have moved or not, or if they are still there or not, but especially objects in the sky, which is why they poke holes into these megalithic structures to see if the stars are where they're supposed to be, or the sun is where it's supposed to be. Now they open up their map, they're trying to figure out where to go, and it says we need to go to the nearest northern point. North. What's north? Which way is north? They don't even know where north is, but they know they need to go there. They need to head north. Start listening for this in the movies and you'll hear it every time. Every time. Every other movie, you got somebody saying, we need to head north. We need to go north. I heard there's a safe place up north. Everyone's going north. Sometimes they'll disguise north. Sometimes they'll actually refer to north as west, but, you know, it's interesting how many times that pops up. That's where you'll find the treat. The treat, the rich stuff, the treasure, One-Eyed Willie. Look, he even holds up a freaking compass. North, the rich stuff. Head north. It's that way. Go. So they say to head towards the lighthouse. So this restaurant here, the place that provides food, substance, and a lighthouse. It's a burnt down lighthouse right now, but a lighthouse nonetheless. And the lighthouse symbolism is Mount Meru symbolism. There's a few different things that represent Mount Meru. Many things. The lighthouse is one of the quintessential ones that represent Mount Meru, because Mount Meru itself is a tall, lofty tower that produces light, and people anywhere around that island would know exactly where it was and where the shores were if you could look for the other 2 lighthouses so that you don't crash into that island. Why? Not because it's dark and sailors are stupid and they don't know where they're going, but because some people have ships that have metal iron nails inside of them and stuff, and that metal will just get pulled right into that island that's made out of magnetic material, and you'll crash right into that island. So but when you can see that original quintessential lighthouse of Alexandria, or the lighthouse of the world, you can know to stay away if you know you have metal on board your ship, because you will crash. It's also Shipwreck Island. Now they go into the restaurant and they see the guy who had pretended to hang himself earlier, right? And they're like, she's like, what do you want? What do you want to order from our restaurant? They're like, water, just water, water. And he goes, no, mouth comes out, and he's like, I want a Villa Scallopini. I want a good fettuccine Alfredo. A bottle of fettuccine, a 1981. Mwah. She says, the only thing we serve is tongue. She whoops out a knife, holding this boy with his tongue out. You boys like tongue? They're just showing you these children being scared to death, right, by this bloodline, by these family members, right, getting their adrenaline going, right? Mikey says he has to go to the bathroom, so he goes downstairs. He's like, I know you're down here, One-Eyed Willie. Mikey knows that they went north and now they need to go down into the roots of Yggdrasil, down into, the wishing well of the world itself, down into a place of safety. He says, you got to be down here. He doesn't know where he's going. He just knows he needs to go down. And while he's down there in the underworld, under the earth, he meets a mutant, which is what this guy is. He's not some weird character. The character represents something real. If the rest of it represents something real, so does this character named Sloth. He's mutated. I'll show you his face in a bit, and I'll come back to the mutations, okay? But there are mutants down under the earth because there is a lot of energy and radioactivity down under the earth right now. Excuse me. Now, sometimes mutations can be beneficial. Sometimes they can look kind of horrendous and monstrous and scary. But that doesn't mean that they're evil. It doesn't mean that they're mean, evil people. Anyways, he says when it came into the light, it was all gross and distorted, and its like face was all weird and stuff. He was telling everyone about this monster he saw down in the basement. And now all the Goonies are gathered because we've got the romantic interest, the tomboy chick, the older brother, and the 4 others. We've got how many? 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 Goonies. 7 headed north. On the old maps, that was called Septentrion. Sometimes Septentrionalis or Setentrio or Setentrionalis. It meant the place of the 7 trees. 7 beams of light surrounding that central pillar. We got the central pillar, then we've got anode and cathode. That's 3. Now we need 4 more. Well, we do also have 4 islands right there in the middle. Each one might actually contain its own plasma volcano. People would look to the north and they would see this 7-headed dragon or a 7-headed serpent or a 7-headed hydra or 7 titans that had turned to stone once they got up there and they saw there was a mountain in place of where this huge light had once been. 7 giants. This is where your biblical number 7 comes into play. It is the 7 beams of light, the largest ones that are at the top of the world. He says, okay, so they're locked out. I had to include this part because it cracks me up, but there's substance to it as well. They're locked out of the restaurant because the Fratellis have left. Mouth looks at Chunk. Chunk's like, oh, thank God. I'm so glad they're gone. I'm so glad we're locked out because he doesn't want to go in there. He goes, hey, Chunk, I got some naked pictures of your mom. Yeah, taking a bath. You see how quick his face changed? It always makes me laugh because it's so natural. He goes, you want to buy them? He goes, what? Yeah, real cheap. And then Chunk loses his mind and he busts through the door. They just step out of the way and falls right on his face. Now, it could be, since the kids represent, not the best part of Hollywood, that he actually does have naked pictures of that kid's mom, possibly. But regardless, Chunk helps them out, falls on his face. Then they all walk over him saying, thanks, Chunk. Thanks, Chunk. And all I hear is thanks, Chuck, from the other movie that we decoded. Thanks, Chuck, for 39 great years. I hope you guys have seen this particular decode because it's damn good. I really like it. If you like my concept of the fractal verse, which, by the way, is one of my conspira cards in my new trading cards. I've got what I call conspira cards, which is just like the quintessential image that really represents a particular conspiracy. And then when you flip it over on the back, it tells you all about that conspiracy and gives you real good information about it. Fractalverse is one of them. And that's what this movie right here is pretty much all about. All right, so they say, shut up. We've got to get to the lowest point of the floor. And they're like, the lowest point of the floor. So they go down into the basement of the restaurant, of the lighthouse. And there is a fireplace. We just talked about the fireplace symbolism in the last movie that we decoded. Do you guys remember? I hope you guys remember. The last movie that we decoded, Escape Room, right? They escaped through the fireplace, the hearth, right? We talked about how that represents Mount Meru, the place of the fire, the place of the light, the place that has the light inside of it, which in Latin is pyramid. So they go down inside of the fireplace once again for safety reasons, to hide from the Fratellis who are up on the surface running the world and causing chaos. So they break it open and they're like, there's a cave down there. There's an entrance into the underworld under this fireplace. Now, as they're checking this out, Data is over there looking at this strange machine because, you know, he's an inventor. And he sees all of this money that's been printed by this machine that prints money. And he starts freaking out. He goes, $50 bill, $50 bills. Guys, $50 bills. They all start freaking out. $50 bills? What? He said $50 bills. Which is also interesting. Data right here, this kid, he's the same guy who's the protagonist on that movie that we decoded called Everything Everywhere All at Once. You know that Japanese lady? That's her husband. Data is her husband. He's also in like some of the Marvel stuff too. Anyways, he's a cool dude. So the $50 bill, what is this? Why did they put this in the movie? Okay, they did not have to have this. This was not detrimental to the story. It's not random either. It's purposeful. It's because the bloodline, the criminals, right, who we've already established kind of who they are in the movie, have this underground facility where they're making things that are fake. You would call this counterfeit, right? Counterfeit money. But it's not just counterfeit money. It's copies that are illegal. They have an underground facility making counterfeit copies of things over and over again, and it's illegal up on the surface to do so. The Fratellis have an underground facility making copies that are illegal. Now let's check this out. This advertisement says it's easy to make a copy. It's quick. It's illegal. It's wrong. Making copies, wrong. A copyright will protect you from pirates, this advertisement says from yesteryear. Now we've got a pirate connection. Well, it's called piracy when you make a copy of something illegally, right? The pirates making copies underground in hidden facilities on islands sometimes. Piracy, copies, illegal, secret goings on, secret things happening underground. Cloning is another word for making illegal copies of people. They showed you there was a person on that $50 bill, right? A person's face, right? So they're printing off the same person over and over and over again. Interesting. Why would they want to do something like that? Why would they want to make clones, copies of human beings that already exist up there on the surface? The movies have already told you why a million times. We have decoded the reason why a million times. I would like to know what you think in the chat. Why would the elite of this world want to make hundreds and hundreds of copies of different people over and over and over again and have a little facility where they can counterfeit people, little cookie cutter people? Why do you think? In the chat, talking to you guys. Let me know, because I'm going to read this chat after this uploads to YouTube. Now, you'll see this on television. For example, what came to my mind immediately was Westworld, right? Where they had this whole underground warehouse full of these robots that look and feel and act and do everything the same as human beings do, but they just call them robots to make themselves feel better. And spoiler alert, you might want to, I'm going to give you 5 seconds to pause it if you don't want me to spoil Westworld for you. Okay? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This guy right here, he's down there amongst the robots looking for a particular robot because he works for the company that makes them. But he's a robot. Dun, dun, dun. So even the human beings who think they're human beings and walk amongst you as human beings are actually robots. Interesting. It gets pretty deep. It gets pretty deep. Now, Chunk is fed up, man. People are making fun of him. They're calling him, they're saying they got naked pictures of his mom and crap. He starts to leave and he stops. He says, I smell ice cream, which is hilarious. How do you smell ice cream? How do you smell? You must be a fat boy at heart if you can smell ice cream. You got a nose, man. Yes, I smell ice cream. So lo and behold, there actually was ice cream. There's a little freezer right next to him. He's like, they got chocolate eruption and they got grape ice cream. How many people have even heard of grape flavored ice cream? I've never heard of grape flavored ice cream. I love ice cream. I like all kinds of flavors. But grape? Not a popular flavor of ice cream. I've never even seen that ever that I can recall. Ever. A grape? I've seen grape Kool-Aid, grape all kinds of different things, but ice cream? Interesting that they would include that, right? They got grape, they got super duper chocolate eruption. What else they got back there? Hold on, let me zoom in on that. They got Wonder Bread. Wonder. And it looks like Finland vodka, I'm guessing. Interesting. I wonder what that might mean. Now, what does this have to do with anything? Well, the family member that we were talking about who faked his own death at the beginning of the movie has left all of his emails behind that people are sifting through, and it mentions all the things that you're seeing in this movie. The pizza, the grape flavor. Maybe not cookies, but I counted about 3 separate occasions when you could make a case for crackers in this movie. And then, of course, they have the FBI agents who are like trying to track him down. They had killed him and put him downstairs in the freezer. My guess would be to clone him so they can clone their enemies, train them up or program them or whatever they do, put them back up here, and now you have sleeper cell agents that are exact clone copies of the people who are down there trying to investigate and get you anyway. So they scream, they drop the dead guy. It's also appropriate that there should be someone dead in this particular location. If it represents Mount Meru, that island at the center of the world has gone by many names. One of those names is the necropolis of the earth. The necropolis, the spirit world, the place of the dead. RevBev, hey, thank you so much in the chat. You guys are awesome. All right, so they stop. They freeze in their tracks. Upstairs, they hear the Fratellis, the families coming in. So when this evil criminal organization, this bloodline comes in above, there are children locked up, trapped downstairs just underneath their feet in the place where they're making copies and clones. And what do they do? What's the first thing they show you? Walks in with a box of pizza. Happens to be Wonder Bread down there too. I just saw that. Big old slice of cheese pizza hanging out of this guy's face while the kids are helpless downstairs. Chunks like pizza? I mean, if he could smell ice cream, you know he can smell that pizza. Ma, he's eating my pepperoni again. You want your pepperoni? Here, pow, throws a slice at his face, hits him, he takes out a gun. He's like, come on, let's kill ourselves over the pepperoni. What do you think they're really fighting about? if this represents what I believe it might represent, what is it you think is important enough for the elite families to fight amongst themselves over? What do you think that could be? Is it pizza? You think they're out there fighting over pizza right now? Now, I will say this too, that island at the middle of the world has mountains that go all the way around like a crust, and then 4 slices in the middle that all look like they have a bite taken out of them because there's that lake in the middle. It's the quintessential pizza planet, or pizza place, or pizza palace, or pizza land. Looks just like a pizza. All right, so they go down inside of the fireplace. It's safe down here, so they're trying to escape. Go down into the fireplace, move the logs back over there. Chunk escapes. He leaves when no one's looking. He stops the first car he sees. He says, "Look, mister, I need a ride. There's these guys, you might have heard of them, the Fratellis. We found their hideout. I can describe all 3 of them." And then boom. The guy turns on the car light. Just happens to be Epstein. I mean, the Fratelli brother. Okay? Just happens to run right into him. It's a small island. You know, Astoria. It's not really an island, but you know what I'm saying. Now, they're downstairs in the tunnel system, and they're shaking all these pipes that have gas and water and stuff. And as they shake them, the pipes connect to stuff up on the surface. So the surface starts, like these knobs, they get sunken in. So it's like a sinkhole, but in the wall. Obviously, you have like one-eyed symbolism when you really didn't need to have that. You got all the water just starting to spray everywhere down underneath the earth. It's starting to fill up with water. That's a lot of pressure. As the earth increases with gas down in the underworld, it will start to push up those waters, and the water levels start to rise, and stuff like that. Land starts to rise too. Anyways, they're all down there. The waters are spraying everywhere. Meanwhile, Chunk gets kidnapped. He gets kidnapped by the Fratelli, by the bloodline, who has a blender in the back of their car. And the blender's going, ree. It's like they're cooking something up. It's like they're making something that they would drink, because that's what you put into a blender, is something that you intend to drink. That's what it's for. First, we start with the pudgy little fingers. Whee! Mixing it all up in there. Then the plump little hands. This is the mother with her nasty arm. And then they got Chunk right there watching. They're just scaring him. She just put a tomato or something in there, and they're just trying to get him to be afraid. The family that's making all these illegal copies underground is trying to take the one kid that they found and scare the crap out of him, right? Or scare the essence out of him, I should say, because it's very much like the movie The Dark Crystal and the Skeksis. The Skeksis were literally scaring the crap out of the native inhabitants of that world, and then sucking out their essence. That's what they called that. So they're yelling at him. They're threatening to put his hand in the blender. She's like, "Don't lie to me. Where are your friends?" He's like, "No, I'm serious. We went to Mikey's dad's. I told you everything. You want to know everything? I'll tell you everything." You see, they got their hand on his throat and everything too. Interesting. Kids. You know what's really messed up is like the baby actors that are in these movies. How do you think they get those babies to cry during the scenes where the baby needs to cry? You ever think about that? Damn, that's messed up. I think about that every time. I can't stand to see babies in movies if they're crying. Because they had to make the baby cry. They don't just wait. They're not just going to be like, "Okay, we'll just hang out on the set until the baby just starts to cry on its own, if it ever does." And make that baby cry, man. In the movie The Hills Have Eyes, I'm just going to take a quick second just to talk about something else. I've walked out of 3 movies in my entire life. The Hills Have Eyes was one of them, because there was a scene whenever the people were on this bus or something out in the middle of nowhere, and these mutants got on the bus, and they were like real perverted, sexual deviant mutants. And the one mutant put a gun to the baby's head. This was a real baby in the movie. This wasn't like a machine or anything. And I don't care if the gun was a prop or not. I was like, I stood up and I addressed the whole audience. I felt obligated. And I said, I told them what I thought about that. I told them in no uncertain terms, that's really messed up. And this doesn't deserve my money or my attention, and I'm out of here. I'm leaving. You guys are welcome to come with me. And I literally invited the whole movie theater to also walk out and not support that kind of crap. Whew. Anyways, I digress. Let's get back to the movie. So they're making him gag and stuff. Look at this guy's face. Look at Epstein's face, right? He's over here getting a kick out of it. The more Chunk is scared and feeling bad and crying and stuff, the more excited this guy's getting. As a matter of fact, he gets so excited he starts to lick his lips. See that? This reminds me a lot of Monsters, Inc. It's just a cartoon version. In Monsters, Inc., they do the exact same thing to children. They have the monsters, the bad guys, basically kidnap or sneak into kids' rooms and break into their houses and stuff, scare the crap out of them, and then suck out their essence. He says, you know, I'm beginning to like this kid, Ma. He's beginning to like the kid. She says, hit puree. We turn on the blender. He goes, no, I'm too young. I'm too young. Isn't this kind of messed up when you look at it from another angle? I think so. Still a good movie, still a classic movie, but damn. Damn if this movie didn't get deep into some predictive programming or stuff that we already know was happening back during the 80s when this movie was made, and has been happening for quite some time, right? No, I'm too young, he screams. Not my hand. So they put his hand in there where all this pink liquidy crap is, same color as that shake at the beginning that squirted all over his face. They're trying to scare him. They're not really going to chop his hand open or anything. Now, the rest of them are underground and they see the treasure. Oh my God, they made it. They see all this shiny coins and stuff all over the place, treasure everywhere. They start scooping up pennies and dimes and nickels. And they realize, wait a minute, we're in a wishing well. They literally were inside of Mount Meru, and that's the wishing well of the earth, where whatever you will comes into being. It's a place of power. It's the place of power. And you notice there's this like blue light. Looks like it's coming down from above. Or you could reverse it and make it like it's going up. But I've seen this many times. There's always a cave or some place in the dark that has this bluish white light that rises up to the ceiling. And it is the cave of wonders, the cave of treasures, the cave of Adam, the cave of magic. There's many different names. This is what it looks like in Aladdin. This is where the lamp is, the genie. Remember I explained to you guys what the genie is, the djinn? Smokeless fire. Same kind of light coming right up out of there. That's the sword, and that's the stone. The sword and the stone. Right? Aladdin is a type of King Arthur, or Har, which means mountain, Thor, which is the god of lightning, Har Tor, right? Or you can reverse that and say Or Tor, which is light mountain still. Now, they put Chunk, they lock him up with the sloth, the mutant guy. As you can see, he's a complete mutant. I forgot what episode it was that I was talking about mutants. Okay? But this is something that they don't teach people. This is something that is suppressed. This is not like, oh my God, like one in a billion, there's only like 2 people on Earth that look like that. No, there's not. There's actual people on Earth that look like that right now. But this is all makeup and stuff that they did for a movie. There are mutants living amongst you right now. People that have all kinds of insane, crazy conditions because your body is, every cell in your body has the capability, has the potential to do whatever it wants to do. There's coding in there that's supposed to limit it. But when you screw with that coding through radioactive energy, then you can knock some things off balance. Your skin can fuse to your skin. It can droop. It can stretch. You can grow an extreme hunchback and look like your face is in your chest. Your legs can fuse together and look like you're a mermaid person or a monopod. Your hair can grow in places it's not supposed to grow and you look like a werewolf. All kinds of things. And if you happen to live under conditions that promote your cellular structure regenerating, now you're not going to die. You're not going to just fall apart and die and become, have radiation sickness or anything. You're going to be sustained in a mutated form. This is going to happen. And it's going to happen more and more until the end comes. And then there's going to be a huge influx of mutants and different types of mutant tribes as they'll give birth to children, and their DNA will be passed on. And the DNA remembers this particular mutation, and it gives birth to entire nations, islands, and tribes of people who have the same exact genetic mutation. And some of them are underground right now. Very strong. He's got super strength. I'll come back to that when he rips his shirt off. So Chunk's stuck down there in the underworld, panicking, freaking out. Why? Because he's been conditioned. He grew up as a child in an Illuminati world. He thinks the mutants are all bad. All these aliens are bad guys. He's scared. He's down there with the bad guys. He's trapped. He doesn't realize it's his ally. Yet. So the girl, the love interest, she doesn't want to go up the bucket, or she doesn't want to stay down there because Mikey's like, let's stay down here. Let's finish the job. Let's find One-Eyed Willie's treasure. If this isn't the treasure, let's find it. And she's like, I don't know. If I stay down here, I might die. And he says, never say that. Goonies never say die. The rebels of this world don't believe in death. We don't accept our fate. I'm speaking for myself, but I also can hear your voices out there echoing the same sentiments. Fudge death, man. Screw that. I don't want to die. I don't want to live all old and decrepit at like 300 years old and look like a mummy and, my bones break at the wind blowing either. But there is a remedy. There is a way to extend your life for hundreds and hundreds of years and retain your youth so that you don't fall apart and look all decrepit. That's what I'm looking for. I would like that, wouldn't you? Wouldn't you like to be reinvigorated? How many of you are over 40? Or even some of you getting into your late 30s and you just feel the energy being sucked out of you. You don't have all the excitement anymore. You need the energy drinks. You need the coffee. You need the caffeine and whatever it is you're doing. And some of you have developed vices because of that and dependencies because of that. You're lacking energy. You're drained. You're tired. You're constantly, your body's just messed up. And that's not right. That's not the way it's supposed to be. That's the way it is for the time we live in. And these times are short. That's the good news. So if you hold on, you might actually make it. And you might inherit these rewards in the form of better health, more energy, your vigor and youth restored to you. That's the good side of the apocalypse that you don't hear other people talking about. I only ever hear other people talking about the apocalypse to get attention, to fearmonger, to tell you it's terrible, it's evil, and you need to buy my go bag and my food, and you need to buy my stuff so that I can profit off the apocalypse. Make your profit. Fine. Write your books. I'm an author. I write about the apocalypse. Sell your survival gear, but don't just sell it because of fear. Give people a reason to want to live. Give people a reason to want to survive something so terrible, so harsh. where I've got people, I read comments all the time where people are like, why should I even want? Like, I'd rather die than live through the apocalypse and wake up in the post-apocalyptic crappy world full of mutants and weirdos and monsters and plasmas and electricity and God knows what. There's good news. The good news far outweighs the bad news. The benefits far outweigh the calamities. So, let me just plug myself real quick. By the way, if you like this type of information, go to my website, JayDreamerZ.com. There's a lot of good free information there. And if you like what you see, you can sign up for a membership and you can get even more. I have a whole library of over 10,000 esoteric books, maps, transcripts, blueprints, all kinds of crap that I personally own and have uploaded to my own website. There's even a free cram session on my website too. Go over to my Patreon. I've got exclusive content that you can't even watch here on YouTube over on my Patreon. A lot of it's way better. Anyways, here's some more clues they have to try and define One-Eyed Willie's treasure. Copper bones, westward foams, triple stones. Remember, he's reading this in Spanish, so I think it's funny that they made it rhyme. It doesn't often rhyme when you translate it. But let's break it down. Copper bones. Those are copper mountains in the north, in the Arctic areas, okay? The mountains themselves acting as like, you know, they can look like a spinal column or bones or whatever. Westward foams. Remember how I said sometimes they disguise the north as the west? The westernmost point of the ancient world was the place where you start going down into the world. RevBev, thank you so much for your donation. Thank you very much. Whew, buddy, I needed that one. Thank you. Westward foams. Now, the foam that will happen has a lot to do with electrolysis. It has a lot to do with the dead creatures that will be in the Arctic Ocean and stuff, and it's going to create a lot of foam. In India, I just thought of this other guy that I just found on YouTube. He's talking about all these cool Indian stories and stuff from India. Anyways, in India, they have a story of what they call the churning of the ocean, right? Where they had the good gods and the evil devas, or the evil, demons, I'll call them, basically playing tug of war using this sort of titanic snake, this divine snake. And the snake was wrapped around this central mountain. And every time they would pull back and forth between the positive and negative, the good guys and the bad guys, the ocean itself would start to boil and bubble, and it would foam up. And this was the churning of the ocean. And because it foamed up so much and had so many tiny little bubbles inside of it, it turned white, which is what happens when you have electrolysis or a massive amount of electricity running through water. It puts off tiny little microscopic bubbles, and it spreads out the light, and it makes the water look like it's white or milk. Because that land at the North Pole that releases all of that energy is the land of milk and honey. The milk comes from the water that has all of the it's what do they call it? Aerosolized. Damn, there's 352 people watching. That's amazing. High five. I didn't know. I just was thinking there might be like a little bit. High five to you guys. Anyways, that's the milk. The honey, as I explained in my second book, is the manna that comes from the heavens. It is the dew that drops down from the mountain. Remember, dew means God. Tiu, dew, or Dios, right? Dew is God. So mountain dew that gives you all that energy, that drink, is God mountain, or God of the mountain god. That's where that comes from. Same thing as the frosted flakes, right? The flakes that come down is the dew that drops down from the heavens, which is just the pollen from the Garden of Eden that's blown out of the Garden of Eden, and it mixes with the mist that surrounds that whole island. And pollen is very healthy. You could survive eating just pollen by itself. So the pollen mixes with the water. It creates this sort of slime and goop and stuff outside of Eden, which when you remove the Arctic waters will be a desert. And it'll dry out. It'll make little flakes. It'll make little sweet frosted flakes all over the desert in the north. Triple stones. That's anode, cathode, and Mount Meru. 3 mountains. Copper mountains, just so that you can see what I was researching here. The copper mountains in the Arctic are a rugged linear range of Canada, famous for containing historically significant native copper deposits utilized for centuries by indigenous peoples. It's a weird name for people, indigenous peoples. They're talking about Eskimos. I'm going to say Eskimo until they make me not say Eskimo because, you know, I like that word. Inuit, you could call them. Anyways, Canadians. So his hand gets trapped. So there's booby traps and stuff, right? And this little bowling ball starts to roll down. It's one of One-Eyed Willie's, the pirates' ancient traps to protect the Garden of Eden. Now, this is very interesting. We have this bowling ball that's rolling around. It's going to like land in a basket. That's going to trigger something. That's going to trigger something else. And then it's going to set the trap on these trespassers. They're not allowed in, which it happens. The floor opens up and Data falls down. He shoots his pinches of peril, his little teeth, and he saves himself. He doesn't fall into the spikes or anything. But I'm like, wow, this is where the movie gets really meta. Because they did the same thing themselves at the beginning. Remember when Chunk wanted in and they made him do the truffle shuffle? All that stuff? It started, they lifted up a rope. It released the bowling ball. The bowling ball went all the way down, landed in something, blew up the balloon, scared the chicken, opened up the fence, and Chunk could come in. The same inventions to let people in were created by the Goonies, the outsiders, to keep people out. It's the pirates returning to Hyperborea. It's them that have made all of these. They are One-Eyed Willie's crew. They are the pirates, or the ancestors thereof. It's all cyclical. The Goonies are One-Eyed Willie and his pirate crew. They will become One-Eyed Willie and his pirate crew. They have made the booby traps. It's the exact same booby traps that you see them making in the beginning of the movie. It's a cycle. It's repetitious. The people, the pirates that leave, they become lost. They become the lost boys, the lost tribes. They don't know who they are. You, most of you, do not know who you are. You cannot trace your bloodline back too far. Some of you think you can. Wonderful. Me personally, I barely even know who my grandfather was. And that's as far back as I can go. I can't tell you. I mean, I've heard rumors and stuff, but you guys can't trace your bloodlines all the way back. You don't know who you're from, where you're from, or whatever. Odds are you're the lost tribes. You're lost. You don't know where to go. You don't know where you are. You don't know what your purpose is. You don't know why you're here. You don't know who you're related to. One day you will be found. One day you will become the finders or founders of these places that you're already familiar with. You will return to Hyperborea. You will live there. You will take a much needed vacation from this crazy life and all of the bloodline and criminals who now run this place. And when you are released or forced out, as will happen, you will return to a world that you're already familiar with. And you'll be like, oh, I know where that particular place is. We can go back there. We can return to all these different places and set up shop in places of power around the world. This is a cycle. So Chunk gets on the phone to the police. He says, hello, Sheriff, I'm at the lighthouse. Right? He's trying to call the police. He's trying to call the people who are basically equal to the Fratellis. They're just two sides of the same coin, okay? I know it. You know it. If you're a cop, I'm sorry. It's not you personally. It's your profession is evil, okay? Judges, cops, all that stuff. CJC, hey, thank you. That was a big old super chat. Perhaps me and my son can go to my favorite diner. Ah, yes, I would love that. Thank you. That was very nice. Popcorn everywhere. So he's trying to call the police, okay? The other side of the Fratelli coin. So are the police, are the authorities of this world going to believe you when you say that there is an evil cabal of people running underground copying facilities, cloning human beings and using them for whatever purposes? Are the cops going to actually believe your wild, crazy stories about your conspiracies? He says, yeah, like the time that you told me that it was like that prank with all those little creatures that multiply when you throw water on them. Kind of like that, says the cop. Funny thing is, in the movie world, that's real. In the movie world, there really was a bunch of little creatures that multiplied when you throw water on them. So, in the movie world, the cop is wrong. In the movie world, there really is gremlins that multiply when you throw water on them. Now, they're underground. They're getting really close to One-Eyed Willie's hideout, and they have to cross this little log. This is where he's got his little Pinter's apparel. He's like doing his little Michael Jackson walk across, and he's got his, not Pinter's apparel, slick shoes, right? But look at what is down there in the water. What is that? They're in the underworld right now. They're in some random cave system deep in the earth, and you have what looks like a strong contender for like a woolly mammoth carcass or something, an elephant or something like that, something huge down in the earth. They do not explain this. You don't see it for too long. A lot of people just take that for granted. They won't know what that is. Matter of fact, some people will not even notice that. You probably have not even noticed it until I just now pointed it out. You'll be like, man, I can't believe I never saw that before. It's clearly a gigantic dead carcass of something in the inner earth, in the underworld. Something maybe like giant woolly mammoths, which according to tradition and story after story, live down inside of the earth where gigantism still exists. The human beings are gigantic. The animals are gigantic. The reptilians are gigantic. The bugs are gigantic. The plants are gigantic. Huge mammoth creatures, literally called mammoths. This is me in Washington, D.C., by the way. If you want to check out this trip, this is the Smithsonian. You can go to my Patreon. You do have to pay for that particular episode, okay? It's just an awesome edited video I made of me at the Smithsonian and some other places in Washington. But it's worth it. It's a good time, and it's very interesting. But yeah, and this is also me and my son visiting our local museum. I don't even think that's a real skull. Doesn't it look like it should only have one eyeball? Doesn't that look like a cyclops head or something? That's me and my boy at our local museum in Denver. All right, anyways, back to the Goonies. So the floor starts to fall out underneath them. They're over there trying to play this bone piano, play the bones on the piano. The floor falls out behind him. He's like, hey, listen, and this is some advice I want you to listen to personally, all right? Because you can use this advice. Goonies always make mistakes, he tells her. Just don't make any more. This is literally like the words of Jesus spoken through a child in a movie right back at you. It's okay. Goonies always make mistakes. Don't make any more. That is called repentance. And it's a nice little spiritual message wrapped into the movie. You make mistakes. It's okay. Don't make any more. Whatever you know is wrong or messed up or whatever, learn from it. Don't do it again. Don't return to that. Move forward. Move on. Grow. It's a beautiful little message right there. Just don't make any more mistakes. All right, so they're taking off. They're leaving from the Fratellis, and they jump down into what looks like a water slide. And they're sliding down all around inside of the earth. There's all this water. I'm sure this actually exists inside of the earth. If you saw my decode of the backrooms that I did, we talked about one of those levels to the backrooms is like the flooded areas that have all the water, and there's actually water slides and stuff like that as well. And we talked about how the backrooms are the liminal spaces between the surface world and the underworld. All the cavernous cave areas and sulfur-filled walls and stuff like that. So anyways, these guys are going down playing this game of chutes and ladders. This could also be symbolic as a celestial version, because there are plasma conduits above the dome that you would slide through as a slider, which is just like the TV show Sliders from the 90s. And you would go from world to world, bouncing from place to place in the fractalverse, from Earth to Earth, I should say. Anyways, they're going all the way down, sliding all the way down into the hollow Earth, down into the underworld. They're way down. This is all just underneath your feet in Oregon. Imagine what is under our feet, your feet right now, wherever you are on Earth watching me live. Imagine how much is actually down there. And then it makes sense that the governments are making all of our cave systems off limits for your own safety, of course. For your safety, they have restricted you from moving about the cabin. They have turned on the fasten your seatbelt sign permanently. Excuse me. All right, so they get down and he goes, oh my God. Now they're in the heart of the earth. The next thing we see should be something symbolic of the God of the earth, which is the light of the world, that pillar of light, that geoplasmic earth energy. And there we go. Not so much the pirate ship, but this waterfall right here that looks just like a blue beam of light. If you didn't know what that was, why is the waterfall even blue? Water is not blue. You know what I mean? So it's clearly like lit up. It's purposefully made like that. So your subconscious picks up on the fact that you're down inside of this mountain and there's a blue beam of energy rising up through it. Now there's the pirate ship. Obviously, like I said, this is where the original pirates would have started. This is where they crashed. And then they looted all the crashed ships to put together brand new ships that do not have metal. And they became familiar with their surroundings, and that became a pirate cove or a shipwreck island where the pirates can meet up, and, you know, they became familiar with it and stuff. He finds One-Eyed Willie, finally. He looks at his patch, starts talking to him. He says, I made it. I beat you. Now, One-Eyed Willie represents the world as it is today. Okay, he sort of represents the devil, evil, a lack of energy in the world today. Okay, the hidden eye, the hidden hand, all of that stuff. He kind of represents the bad guy, or bad energy, or missing energy, a lack of energy. He says, I beat it. I beat you. I got here in one piece so far. One piece. Another pirate reference to there being only one piece. Right? A piece of 8, a one piece. There is a show, a manga, a cartoon, a real live action version called One Piece that my son introduced me to about pirates. Not just about pirates, but about good pirates. Because people tend to think all the pirates are evil and scandalous. And no, these are like all wholesome, good people for the most part who are trying to be good and live as righteous pirates. And they fight the bad pirates, and they have superpowers, and they got stretchy skin, and they got all the stuff I've been telling you about is in this show and in that manga comic book. He lifts up his eye, and guess what? He's a cyclops. His skull just fuses over that part. You see, One-Eyed Willie wasn't like had his eye poked out or anything. It's just skull. He's a cyclops, which is appropriate. Because that's what he is in the real world. When people see that geoplasma spreading its arms and that apex dome at the top, the one eye, that's the Cyclops. Which, by the way, Cyclops doesn't mean one eye. It means circular eye or round eye, right? An eye that is a perfect circle. You guys don't have perfectly circular eyes, even if you're not Asians, right? My eyes, look at them. They look like walnuts. They look like they look oval. They're not circular. A cyclops is a circle eye. That's what that means. Anyways, back to the mutant. So he rips off his shirt. Superman. Dun, 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 dun. Because he has superpowers compared to these other two. He has super strength in the movie. He has crazy freaking strength. And that's how a lot of these people who live inside of the earth are going to come up with super strength. They have super strong muscles. And you guys, some of you guys, like I said, are going to have super strong muscles in the future. Now, they fight the Fratellis. They jump off of the boat. They have to get out of there because the whole place is caving in or sealing itself up, you could say. Right? It's all caving in. There is a deleted scene right here that wasn't in the version that I watched, and it's not in a lot of versions anymore, and I don't really understand why they took it out. But at this particular point in the movie, there's a giant octopus in the water, and they have to fight this giant octopus. I don't know why they took it out. I think that was classic. They should have left that in. But they actually mention it at the end of the movie when they're talking to the police, and they're like, yeah, the octopus was scary. So they meet Sloth. Everybody meets Sloth. They all become friends real quick. Nobody's really scared of Sloth. He's like, we can't go, Brant. We can't leave all that gold behind. That's our future. So this is them being forced out of the Garden of Eden, forced out of Hyperborea or Avalon or whatever. Once again, entering that cycle once again, right? But because they just left, they're going to be okay. Anyone that leaves this island is going to be okay. That's why it's important for good people to find that island and to win that race to Mount Meru. That's our future, he says. And then they find this hole in the wall, just happens to have a blue light sticking out of it. A little place where they can get out. They're on that same beach that we saw in the beginning, all 7 of them, the Septentrion. They made it, arms up, doing the Atlas pose. The Fratellis are trapped inside of that mountain, and the police are showing up. The police see this giant mutant, and like I said, they're trained to shoot the aliens, right? So he points his gun at him. All the kids are like, no, he's not the bad guy. He's good. What are you doing? They're like, those are the bad guys, these guys over there. Not the people who, might look all grotesque and weird and stuff, but the people who might pass for like regular people or even good-looking people on Earth. These families that fit right in, that blend right in, those are the bad guys. When you see these guys coming up out of the Earth, they're not the bad guys. It's not their fault that they're mutants, but these are the real bad guys, the bloodlines, the families that are up here on the surface and down in the liminal spaces, printing out people. Those are the bad guys. And then they show you his crazy strength that he has. And then they all look because inside of his marble pouch, Mikey had forgotten that he stored a bunch of jewels. This is what he took from Mount Meru. And he's able now to trade these jewels to become a trader. The pirate that just left Mount Meru is forced out of Mount Meru because of a cataclysm, and he can now buy his property or his dad's property. If he gives this to his dad can buy the property. They don't have to worry about selling their house because now they're all millionaires. Now they're all very wealthy. They've got plenty of stuff that didn't really used to be worth anything when they were in paradise, because what do you really need precious gems or gold or any of that for when you're in paradise? But when you leave paradise, now everybody wants that. Now it's very precious. Now it's very rare. And you can trade it to people for things that are more important to you, like food and land and whatever you need to come up in the world. So the newscaster guy says, we're looking at what appears to be a pirate ship. And as they all look, they watch as One-Eyed Willie sets sail on the 7 seas once again. They're looking at themselves, right? The timeline is split in 2, okay? These are also the Goonies, like I said, but these are also the Goonies. The pirates, the outsiders, and the outcasts, just like me, just like you. And that's our presentation for today. I hope that you have enjoyed it. Please leave me some juicy comments down in the comment section and some love as far as some likes and stuff like that. I hope to see you over at my Patreon and on my website. I hope to see more of you in person at my meetups that I have coming up here. Go check it out at my website or right here on YouTube on my merch shelf. Until next time, I'm JayDreamerZ saying good vibes and goodbye. Arr, mateys. Aye, you've come to the proper place, matey. If ye be yearning for a swashbuckling journey with plundering scallywags, keep a weather eye open. Hold on tight with both hands, for there be squalls ahead, and Davy Jones wait for them that don't obey. Arr.